Entrepreneurs are the heroes of the American economy and remain the key to fueling our nation's growth. Our very own Mark Haney is on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution in the hometown we love. He is the ultimate small business coach, sounding board, and storyteller. But to us, he's still good old Marky from down on the block. He is the entrepreneur next door. And this is the Mark Haney Show.
Yes, this is the Mark Haney Show. We are on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution right here in the hometown we love. We are entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. I am here with my main man, Marcus Haney, the Marine entrepreneur. You hanging or banging, buddy?
I am banging, fired up. I got a supplier diversity guy in the house today, and I'm really interested to hear
You better
more
be
about how
at
it
your
goes.
very best, at your
Absolutely.
very best opportunity. That's what banging is. But I mean, so often, Marcus, we're not at our very best because we're not working on our best opportunities. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you're in business, one of the things that you've got to do is you've got to be able to build a brand. You have to be able to find a way to get known. And you're getting known now as the Marine entrepreneur, right? The Marine, right? The guy who's got the Purple Heart. You're getting known as that guy who fought for our country. Now he's back building a business of his own, huh?
Yeah, I
How's
appreciate
it
that
going?
name. I like the Marine entrepreneur thing. I think I have to buy that domain name.
Well, you know what? I think if we can give ourselves nicknames, sometimes they stick. If we can give give ourselves mantras, those are sometimes helpful.
And you're Marky from down on the block.
Yeah, I guess
days
so.
here.
Yeah, somebody gave me
All
that
right,
one.
I like it.
But I'm on a mission to ignite the entrepreneurial revolution, and I'm beginning to see it happen. And I think part of the reason is people are beginning to understand what we're doing, the opportunity behind the entrepreneurial revolution here in our hometown.
Well, it's really building the brand in itself, right? Getting the marquee media studios to come out and
yes.
the boards and all this stuff out there.
You're right. I don't think you can build a brand alone. I mean, I think if you have a brand that is building, it's many times because people start to talk about you, right? It starts to spread. Your message becomes a little bit contagious. But how do we make that happen?
Well, I think that and anywhere in your society, whether you're building a business like we like to talk about on the show or you're becoming an employee, you kind of have to put yourself out there as a person with integrity and have work ethic and be able to show what your skill set is throughout your life. I think since social media connects us all so quickly nowadays.
I mean,
it's
everybody,
easy.
even whether you're a business owner or you're an employee, we're all trying to build our personal brand in our own way. We all have a reputation at stake. And I think, but how do you let people know? And I think part of that is clarifying our message, right?
Yeah.
Getting it clear. So what is this entrepreneurial revolution? I have this fascination that if enough of the most successful entrepreneurs help enough of the up-and-comers, then we can transform our hometown. Right now, Sacramento, our hometown, is known a little bit as a cow town, maybe as a government town. But what would happen if we were thought of and known as an entrepreneurial town, one that creates opportunity for business people? Could we change the trajectory of our hometown?
Well, I absolutely think so, right? And I guess question back to you, what would that branding look like for Sacramento as an entrepreneurial town?
Well, I think it's interesting because if you look at Hollywood, right, they're known for the movies. If you look at the Silicon Valley and Bay Area, they're known for high tech.
Yeah.
You go to Nashville, they're known as country music, right? Every town, so to speak, has that's been successful in branding themselves is known for something. So what is that? We have some people coming on the show today that are talking about helping us understand that maybe there's entrepreneurship opportunity in medical. So maybe it is medical. But to me, entrepreneurship is around opportunity for our family, opportunity for our friends, our teammates, our business partners, and opportunity for the hometown that we love. So as I think about entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter to me what brand we're focusing on. I'm about changing the philosophies, right? If the way we think affects our attitudes, which affects our decisions, which ultimately affects our outcome and that brand that we are trying to build.
And you make that contagious, right? Make your brand ubiquitous, as you like to talk about on the show.
But aren't things changing? I mean, obviously we want to be everywhere, ubiquitous,
No
right?
doubt.
We want to be everywhere. But but so often today, there's a lot of us old guys out there that are thinking back to the olden days where there were, AM radio, right, or TV. But anybody today can help get themselves known online
For free?
With a cell phone. With one smartphone, you can build an incredible brand. We got, like, Marcus, you're a father. I'm a grandfather. My grandkids, they're already getting on the internet and watching influencers that I've never heard of play video games, right? It's incredible. People aren't viewing content. They are not taking in their information like they used to. Everybody's doing it differently, which really creates opportunity for anybody.
As a company, you kind of got to look where the attention lies, right? So if it's no longer on the 31013 channel you had when you grew up, right? It's like, okay, what do I have to do as a company in order to get my message out there to the right consumer for my product or service?
You bet. So as we look at what we're trying to do, obviously we are getting known for storytelling, sharing the good stories of Sacramento, the stories of winning. They inspire, they educate, and connect. And on the other half of the spectrum, we are building this business platform that helps entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs. And I'll talk about that at the end of the show today, Marcus. I'm going to explain how we decided to rebrand our organization. And I think some of our listeners have been asking for a little bit more explanation. I'll see if I can clarify that
we're gonna get a
little bit later in the show. But it's going to be a great show. Later in the show, we are going to have Miss Leia Bailey. She's a managing director of the California Craft Brewers Association. The craft beer industry is exploding right now in our region and all over the country. But later in the show, we're also going to meet Tommy Smith and Edward Navales. These two men are helping bring opportunities to Sacramento through strategic partnerships with Kaiser Permanente and the inner city capital connections. But coming up after the break, we have the privilege of meeting Kelly Resendez. She is, there's nothing that this lady doesn't do, right? She is a mom. She is a business executive, best-selling author and influencer, Paramount Equity Mortgage executive. She is coming on to share her story. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, brought to you courtesy of 5 Star Bank. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to the place where our crazy dreams seem just a little less crazy. Mark Haney is our Chief Dreaming Officer. He knows the right people, the right tactics, and the right philosophies to win. He is the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. I'm Mark Haney. I'm joined by Kelly Resendez. You do so much, Kelly. I tried to describe it earlier, but give us an idea. Who is Kelly Resendez?
Yeah, just simple person, to be honest with you. I pride myself that I'm authentic, and every day I battle the same things that every other mom and working person does out there, and trying to balance everything and prioritize my own personal well-being with trying to be of service and impact to other people. So right now, I run Paramount Partners Group, which is a smaller mortgage company here.
But we've all heard of it.
Yeah, we're a DBA of Paramount Equity Mortgage. And then I'm also a writer and speaker. So I've published 2 books in the last couple years and am on the road speaking a lot and just trying to share some of the wisdom that I've learned on my personal growth journey, especially with entrepreneurs or other people that just might be trying to create a new vision for their life or their business.
I love it. I want to dive deep into that, but let's talk just briefly about your Paramount Equity, Paramount Partners experience. What does that look like? How do you balance that all out? Because that's huge.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I feel like you and Hayes Barnard might be relatives.
He is a good man.
He is. The amount of energy that he brings into a room is just contagious, and it's awesome. So I've been there for 7 years and a part of his mission and journey in just trying to, again, build that community feel for a mortgage company that a lot of times is difficult to do. And what we are doing now, we pretty much have Loan Pal, which is our consumer direct and personal finance brand. And then we have my division, which is Paramount Partners Group, which is our more feet on the street. We get to work with amazing real estate agents like Ashley Haney and Haney Garcia, and really just be able to bring mortgages down to a community level.
Yeah, great stuff that you do at Paramount. But I want to get to know Kelly. You are you've written books, which means you are an expert, right? Because I think, isn't it true that if you write a book, it takes so much research, you have to do so much soul searching, you really immerse yourself in these concepts. You have to become an expert during that process.
You do. I mean, and truly, it is one of those that you get to a point where you also feel the need to give back. I started my personal growth journey 15 years ago, and I was a very successful loan officer at the time, high six-figure earner, and to anyone else appeared to have it all. And I had some situations in my life where I really just had to start asking bigger questions. Like, what am I doing this for? I was burning the candle at both ends. I was exhausted, and I really wasn't filled with joy or gratitude. It was all about stress, waking up in the middle of the night, wondering if everything was going to be okay. And I didn't realize how many other people out there that are on the entrepreneur journey also experience that same, feeling. And for me to be able to just share some of the wisdom that I've gained from all of those amazing teachers that I've had along the way was just, what I needed to do.
Was there something that sort of prompted you to make this change?
Yeah, in my life personally, my mom, who was very similar to how I was, she was a workaholic. She'd been in real estate and investing and whatnot. At the young age of 57, was diagnosed with dementia. And at that moment, as I started to understand more about the neuroscience and just, the way that our brains work, I realized that so much of it could have been because of the way that she took care of herself. And so I just vowed at that moment, like, I've got to live differently. And I've got to be able to make some of those changes so that I just leave it all here. I'm going to experience joy in this lifetime and do it in a way that I can still, be a very successful entrepreneur and impact other people's lives and not be burnt out at all times. And yeah,
so
we're in an achiever world.
Yeah, it's changing, but you had this sort of awakening, it sounds like, with the illness of your mother. What then did you do? Walk us down that storyline.
Yeah, so I think first it was just making that decision that I'm not going to live this way for another day. And the minute that I realized that I had the power to create whatever possibility that I could in my own life, I just felt empowered to kind of start making new decisions. And as I did that, I was also crystal clear about what help I needed in order to do that. And whether you call it God or the universe, it just was like everything was orchestrated around me growing. And it was finding speakers and teachers and workshops and, mentors like yourself who were able to share with me how they had done it. And I started to just keep my proximity really small to the people that I wanted to emulate, rather than surrounding myself with the people that were just like me, which were also burnt out, highly distracted, just really, quick to just, get that quick fix instead of wanting to create a new life for themselves.
Well, let's talk about your first book. What's that book, and what kind of impact has it had?
Yeah, so my first book is called Foundation to Sustainable Success, and it's within the mortgage and real estate industries. And really what it focuses on most is on who you're being. And so many people in business focus on what they're doing or how they're doing it. And I don't think that we spend enough time on our own emotional intelligence and mindset and the way that we manage triggers, just the way that we manage overthinking and self-sabotage. And so it really just takes a look at giving them a new identity that they can adopt for themselves so that they can become the person that people want to be attracted to, so that they can be that influencer. Because to be an influencer, people are only going to listen to those that are compassionate and open-hearted and really just in a place where they can help them.
Well, in writing that book, I have to imagine you had to take a look at yourself, at your own journey. As you took a look in the mirror, so to speak, what did you discover about yourself?
Yeah, and looking at that, I just realized that there was a few common themes in my life, and I had created massive success for myself in an industry that was filled with a lot of mediocrity, to be honest. In the lending community, for every top producer, there's about 50 people that are just dabbling. And so I really just had to look at some of the common themes in my own life, which were just, I worked hard. There was I I did not shy away from the fact that I needed to work hard. And I also needed to spend more time taking care of myself. So I always spent an hour every morning just really trying to prepare through journaling, reading, listening to podcasts, things like that, so that I was trying to replace a lot of that pattern thinking that had been pumped into me since the beginning of time. So I had to just look at some of the things that I did. And then the goal and vision planning was a big one. I've always been that way.
Well, okay, so you say you listen to podcasts, and I'm wondering, in today's society, we're all we're not so much left with the old media. The new media is taking over the podcast, and because of digital, we are listening to new celebrities. Anybody now can be an influencer. Who's inspired you at the podcast level or at the influencer level?
Yeah, from an influencer level, I mean, I would tell you that the biggest influencer in my life has probably been Tony Robbins. And the reason is that he's done achievement and spirituality in tandem very well. Where a lot of the other people in the space, it's just all about achievement or what it looks like, not what it feels like. And he is a massive, just giver behind the scenes. A lot of people don't realize that. And I mean, there's been many other people as well along the journey, from Eckhart Tolle to Deepak Chopra, people that really were able to round out my type A-ism. There was no doubt about it. Like, I was a driver, I was type A, but I wasn't experiencing my success the way that I wanted to.
Yeah.
So
you're building what I'll call a personal brand. You're obviously still a very successful executive while simultaneously building this brand. Continue to walk us down this journey. You're building this, you're writing it, you've written another book, you're speaking, you're building a brand. What is that like? How are you going about this?
Yeah, well, I truly feel my purpose, and I believe for many people, it's the same purpose, that we are here to serve and impact other people. And the only way to do that is when we're filled, like absolutely filled with joy and enthusiasm. It's going to pour over. And the majority of people burn out. They're just constantly emptying themselves to give to other people. And so I stand in that place where my cup is overflowing. And through Big Voices, which is my latest book in the women's empowerment space, I really felt personally pulled to share some of the strategies that I'd learned to overcome some of my preferred methods of self-sabotage. And so everyone that we know, we can look at them and say, they have so much potential. You probably meet with entrepreneurs every day where you just see something with them. That's not the challenge. It's the actualization of your potential that really gets you to that next level. And sometimes we just need some help. We need to know, like, I'm a recovering perfectionist and I know how to help people that are struggling with perfectionism, or, like the time management thing. Like, I just call nonsense. Like, I'm a mom, I run a company, I can do a lot at one time. It just hasn't been important to you. Like, that's the real question that we have to ask ourselves. If we haven't done it, is it really that important to you? And you got to keep digging until you find what's really important to you.
Well, thinking about as a guy here, I don't know that I can relate the same way to how it must be trying to be a woman, growing a business, multiple businesses. Obviously, being a mom in many cases is a lot different than being a dad. So thinking about the specific challenges that you've ran into and that other women run into, how do you address those?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is just pull ourselves out of isolation. Whether you're a man or a woman, what stops us from actualizing our potential is just some sort of block. So your blocks might be different than my blocks, but they're, pretty universal to many people that are out there.
Well, what do you mean actualization? You've used that term a couple of times. What does that mean?
Self-actualization is just really where you become your highest self, and you can truly feel like you are a masterpiece.
That's when you're happy,
that
right? I think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization is at the base, right?
Absolutely, where you're
Or is that
consciously
the top?
aware.
Excuse me, maybe it's the top of the pyramid.
You're just consciously aware of who you are and all of the pattern nonsense that we brought along this journey with us. Because like my kids, I had garbage in too. It was just different garbage. We've been, trained by the media and other things as to what should be important in our life. And we've got to override a lot of that. Until you're conscious and wake up and realize you're not your thoughts, it's really difficult to do that.
Go dive deeper into that. Unpack that a little bit. What do you mean, not your thoughts?
Yeah, well, most people that are not conscious and have not awakened yet allow their thoughts and emotions to guide them. So it's like, I'm hungry. and they eat a cheeseburger or a large pepperoni pizza, where somebody that's a little more conscious might say, that's just your thought trying to get you off course.
So step
Health
out
is
of
important.
yourself, step away from yourself,
Absolutely.
and look at this person. Look at Kelly Resendez and go, if you have a doubt or you have a hankering for a sandwich, I mean, that's just your thoughts. You're stepping out as a secondary person
Yes.
or a spirit, if you will, looking into that.
Absolutely.
Is that a fair way of looking at it?
It's a completely fair way of looking at it. And it's complicated for a lot of people to understand because they don't know. I mean, half the thoughts that we have are just plain nonsense.
Yes.
You're like, whose was that? I don't even know where it came from. So you've got to recognize that you don't have to listen to all the thoughts. You can sort them, qualify them, and only grab onto the ones that are in alignment with your vision and your goals for your life.
Well, why did you direct the book so specifically toward women? What did they get out of it that maybe someone like myself might see differently or not get out of it?
Yeah, to be honest, I think men would also get a lot out
Okay.
of reading Big Voices, but the idea behind empowering women to awaken is that we are so powerful right now. We are still taking the majority of child-rearing responsibilities on, and we're suffering at a level that we don't have a lot to give. I mean, when you look at the ugly truth of what we're facing, 20% of women are on anti-psychiatric medication.
Wow.
Which means
What's it for us guys?
it's a little bit lower.
Okay.
It's somewhere in, I think, the 16% realm, but we're still looking for that quick fix. You know, obesity has skyrocketed, sleeplessness has gone up, childhood obesity, a lot of these things that women just feel like they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So they may just run through the drive-thru, and our children are so valuable that I want to encourage the women out there to awaken so that we can support men awakening as well, because we need one another and just in different ways. And I didn't experience my own awakening as a man, so it was a little easier to write a book for women.
I can only imagine. Well, I mean, in the influencer space, you are becoming an influencer, and I think it's probably, I mean, if you look at the value of an influencer brand, some of the most valuable influencers, I call it the equity of influence, right? So that influence has a monetary value to it, right? It's if you are known, if you are influential, that's actually worth something. And women are bigger influencers than guys these days.
We are. You know, consumer spending is driven by us, of course.
That's true. Oh, okay.
And,
Is that the Kim Kardashian effect?
Yeah, that definitely can be, but you've got to be careful about who you allow to influence you as well.
Aha.
So you want to be really picky, you know, about what you allow into your mind, because our minds are just so sticky. You know, we can just grab onto something. I mean, there's stuff that you and I are both probably struggling from a fourth grade, situation that we had as a child. Like a lot of that stuff is sticky. So we've got to be careful what we allow in so that
It's
we can
amazing.
stay,
Yeah.
enjoy.
Okay, so building that brand. I want to maybe there's people out there right now. I run into entrepreneurs. I mean, it's my world is meeting entrepreneurs. How do I unite the entrepreneurs to change the world, change the hometown that we love? Just advice. Thinking if I'm an entrepreneur that I want to build this personal brand. I want to maybe do something where I start my own podcast. I consider writing a book. Where's a good place to start?
The best place to start is just really to give yourself some time alone and allow that vision to kind of come forward. And I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but most of us, if the same thing keeps coming up over and over again where you feel pulled to do something, it's not going to go away. Yeah. Like you need to listen to it and give it the attention that it deserves. And having that balance between doing the work, so I've still got to go do the work. I've got to do my meetings and I've got to do these other things. But in building a brand for yourself, what you're doing is you're just making everything easier. So whether it's recruitment or business development or whatnot, just being in that place where you are influencing people positively.
Yes.
And I'm a giver. I mean, if there's one thing like yourself, like it's about giving, and you don't have to expect back from that person. You just have to trust that if you continuously pour into other people, that it all ends up coming back to you and your business. So where you got to start is just figure out what is important to you. Because if you go after something that's really not, you're not going to have enough leverage to continue.
Okay, so go after something that's important to you, something that you have passion about. I always think of things as something making making things sustainable, some kind of sustainable passion or sustainable interest, because you got to be able to stick with it. It's got to be able to monetize at some point to pay for this. For me, I have this fascination about igniting an entrepreneurial revolution, right? If us entrepreneurs help enough of the up-and-comers, we can change the hometown we love. But we want to do things, I'm thinking, like you build the Paramount equity brand, you're differentiated in some way. You're not the same as every other mortgage company. But if I'm building this this influencer brand, right? If this Big Voices brand, how is it different? That's what I wonder. How do you figure out your differentiated message so that it doesn't get lost in the with all the noise? How do we divide up the signal to noise issue?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm the same person, no matter if I'm in the boardroom at Paramount Partners Group or if I'm speaking for Big Voices or my Foundation to Sustainable Success platform. Like, it's pulled through, so I get to be one person everywhere. It's about impact, and it's about doing things differently. So if you look at my brand, somebody's going to say, she is about, like you, igniting people's purpose. And so earlier today, I had a women's mastermind at my office where we pull groups of women together that have common issues, or we have one for men later this week in our office. We're just doing things that are different. And the brand itself, I'll tell you, for Big Voices, the brand wasn't to make money. That's the honest truth. The brand for that is my purpose project, and I was clear about it. Now, I do make money in other businesses, and so I have to really stay business-minded in those arenas, but we've got to be able to separate, like, what is our contribution and what is our business, because it's two different ways to run things, but you can still create that brand for yourself in both arenas. All
right, let's talk about what the future is. You've written the 2 books. You have masterminds, speaking opportunities. Where are you taking this thing, Kelly?
Yeah, I want to impact millions of women across the world. And I don't think that there is many people out there realize just how easy that is to do. Whether it's to get a bus and go into communities and just start speaking to the youth or other people. And I want to be able to be in a place where I do impact people all over the world, because we have first world problems here. Yeah. I mean, the things that I deal with, like my son's internet going out when he's playing Fortnite. If there's any listeners out there with, 13-year-old boys, you would think it's the end of the world. And yet there are so many other areas that we can help where people don't have enough food to eat, or they don't have the same opportunities that we do. So I want to explode this and really just take it across the globe and empower more people to just impact and serve other people.
Kelly Resendez, thank you very much. Inspiring me, I think inspiring all of Sacramento today, and helping us think a little bit more about our purpose and why we were put on this planet. And anyway, thank you very much for sharing your story. Don't change that station. Don't change the dial, because coming up to the break, we're going to meet Tommy Smith and Edward Navales. We're going to talk about Kaiser Permanente teaming up with the Inner City Capital Connections program to create more opportunities right here in our hometown. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
We are back with your entrepreneurial weekend wake-up call. It's Mark Haney time. And welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Every one of us has something special inside. And Mark Haney has a knack for helping us see the greatness we have inside. He is the entrepreneur next door. And this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. I'm Mark Haney, and I am back here with Tommy Smith. He is with Kaiser, and I'm also here with Edward Navales. He is a founder and president of 24/7 MedStaff. Tommy, let's start with you. You are bringing Kaiser ideas, Kaiser good stuff from Kaiser to the show today. Talk to us about what you're doing, Tommy.
Sure. So I'm with Kaiser Permanente's National Supplier Diversity Program. I'm out of our national office in Oakland. And, of course, Kaiser Permanente, we're big part of the community here in Sacramento.
You bet.
And, we've always provided high quality, affordable health care here in Sacramento. But we realize that in order to really drive community health, we have to leverage all of our assets. So it's the ways that we build, it's the ways that we buy, and it's the ways that we hire.
Okay.
So I'm part of that buy part. I work in the supply chain. We've got about $2 billion to spend with minority, women, veteran-owned businesses across the country. Well, how do we leverage that spend in such a way that it helps promote health?
Okay.
Now, here's the weird connection, is that some of the main determinants of health aren't diabetes or hypertension. It's income.
Right.
It's access to food. It's being able to exercise. It's your environment. And those are things that don't get taken care of in a clinic
Okay.
or in a clinical setting. So if Kaiser Permanente really wants to generate health and be a producer of health, we have to look at all the ways that we operate, all of our assets to make sure that we're promoting health.
Right. So
We're here today to talk about the Inner City Capital Connections program. Okay, and what that is, it's kind of like an MBA on steroids.
Okay.
And so it's run by a nonprofit organization out of Boston called the Initiative for a Competitive Inner City. Now, there's a lot of I's and a lot of C's, so everyone try to keep up with me. But ICIC runs the Initiative for a Competitive, or the, see, I messed up. ICIC runs the ICCC, which is the Inner City Capital Connections program. And so they leverage, professors from Harvard Business School, from Tuck Business School at Dartmouth, from the Kellogg School in Northwestern, and they bring them into a community where they teach small businesses about entrepreneurial finance. They teach them about talent management. They teach them about capital access, all those kind of business school qualities, it provides coaching. So we bring in bankers and consultants to come in and actually coach with the businesses. And there's connections where, they're able to network amongst those businesses. All of this leading to what's called a kinder, gentler Shark Tank.
Okay.
And so that those businesses who participate in the program can go out to, this year it's going to be in Boston, and they can actually pitch for capital. And when they pitch, they know what type of capital they're looking for. They know, okay, here's the difference between a bank, between a CDFI, between a venture capital. I know ROI, and I know what these things or these folks are going to ask for, and I know how to pitch my business.
I love it, bringing basic business knowledge to these entrepreneurs. Now, you brought along with you a guy named Edward Navales. He is an entrepreneur. What made you want to bring Edward on the show today? What's so special about Edward?
So Edward we done this in Oakland last year, in Los Angeles. So Edward participated in the Oakland cohort where we had 100 businesses in the East Bay participate in this program. He was one of the graduates, and he was actually based here in Sacramento.
Okay.
And so when we came to Sacramento, it's okay, Sacramento's our next site, and we would love to have some graduates from the program give testimonials. Edward raised his hand.
Aha.
He said, wherever you want me to go. I was in
Put
Chicago
me in, coach.
last week. Absolutely.
All right, Edward, let's get to know
Yeah.
you a little bit. You're
Thank
the
you.
founder and CEO of 24/7 Med Staff. Talk to us about your entrepreneurial journey. That's what this show is all about, is entrepreneurship.
That's right. That's right. No, I was an ex-corporate guy, management consultant, fell in love with healthcare on one of my first engagements, coincidentally, at Kaiser.
Okay.
I was an IBM guy and doing consulting and doing that whole plane rides, trains, and all that stuff. And fell in love with healthcare and decided I was really more of a small business guy, kind of going back to my family roots. And my grandfather having a small business and feeding the family, that whole thing, just grassroots stuff, really good stuff. And so I decided, hey, I was going to take a leap of faith. And for me, it was a little divine at the same time, right? And I started 24/7 Med Staff, what we call 24/7 Med Staff today, about going on 10 years ago. Bootstrapped it, SBA loan, all that stuff.
What do you guys do? What's 24/7 do?
So we are a medical staffing company,
Okay.
acute care, hospitals, long-term care, such as nursing homes, as well as pediatric home health. We take care of special needs children. We take care of them at home. We take them to school. And that's really the core of what we do.
So you went through the accelerator program with Kaiser. Talk to us about what that felt like. Was it helpful? How did it change your life?
It was eye-opening. It was awakening. I've been through a graduate program in business, and being able to step away from the throes of the everyday business and refocus, re-energize. For us, and for a lot of companies, it's access to capital, right? What keeps you up as an entrepreneur at night? It's cash flow and capital.
You bet.
And your team. At least for me, it is. And so I went to this one-day program, kickoff program in Oakland, took one of my key managers. We were able to step away. We kept on running outside. We're like, wow, this is really good stuff. What are we going to do with this, right?
Yeah.
So we took away like two things. And it was really kind of difficult because we decided that we were actually going to fire some of our current customers. Like, as a small business, you're trying to add as many customers. You'll take any and all customers.
And at the training, they were talking about firing your customers. Is that right?
Well, they're talking about your more profitable customers, right?
Keep
Your
the more profitable ones and let the ones that are the time suck go.
Right. And so I was thinking, right, hey, my team has all this angst about certain clients, but they're not able to focus on the ones that are producing for us, right? The more profitable ones, right?
Yeah.
So by that, we were able to push more to the bottom line. Now we're offering a match on our 401. I never thought in my wildest dreams as an entrepreneur, I'd be able to have a 401 and match for my team members.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So let's talk about that a little bit. When an entrepreneur succeeds, when he begins or she begins to have some success, it throws off opportunity, right? Opportunity, I say, for my family, my friends, my community. For me, my friends, that's my teammates. Besides the 401k, how is it changing the life of your team?
They're more productive. They're happier. They feel like they're accomplishing. We're moving the company forward. Look, when we went into the ICCC program, we were about 80, 85 employee base. Yeah. Now we're pushing 130.
Wow, incredible.
And so
Tommy, okay, so you two are experienced in this realm of building businesses. You are at the corporate level, Tommy, but we've been talking today a little bit about building a brand, right? And we all know Kaiser has this mantra, if you will, or tagline, thrive. Talk to us about building the brand for Kaiser and how strong of a brand you guys have built, and then how is this acceleration program catching speed or becoming contagious? How are you getting known?
Sure. Kaiser Permanente, our brand is Thrive, and we want to be partners in total health. And for us, total health means thriving in mind, body, and spirit. That means it's beyond clinical care. And so it's like folks like Edward who are creating employment, so that, it's for one thing for us to tell folks to eat your vegetables, to exercise, but, if you don't have employment where you can afford to join a gym, or be able to go to a grocery store because you live in a food desert, or to be able to have access to health care, then all that we do and all that we say won't really help. So our Thrive brand is really supported by our total health strategy, and total health means that we're helping businesses thrive, we're helping communities thrive through beyond just the care we can provide in our four walls.
Yeah, incredible. So building your brand, it's 24/7 med staff. You've got to 130 employees. That couldn't have been easy. Talk to us about the process of getting yourself known and the marketing and branding side of building 24/7.
It's a great question. You go through a graduate program, you learn all these great things, you go into either corporate or small business, and you kind of forget it all. I step into the ICCC, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I remember all this stuff.
Okay.
How am I using it? I'm not. I'm really not. The ICCC had weekly webinars on things like digital marketing. Like, you know what? I was kind of an IT strat guy at IBM and Accenture. This whole wave has passed me by. How do I do it? They're like, here's what you do. Jump off the call, go call someone who can help me do that. I learned about things that I could put into practice in 10 minutes, in 30 minutes. Amazing.
Well, okay, so what would you say
transformational
to
for us
somebody- Yeah,
as a small business.
obviously it's made a huge difference for you, Edward. But what would you say to somebody who's thinking about how to get involved? I mean, what would your advice be to a small business person that says, "Hey, you know what? I want to get involved in that. Sounds like it's pretty game changing." What would you say?
I would say, look, this doesn't cost you a single dime except your time. And if you walk away with one nugget, 2 nuggets, or more, you're better off. But you've got to do something with it, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about.
All right, we only have a minute left. Tommy, talk to us about how to get involved. If somebody's listening, or if I run into somebody in my travels of entrepreneurship, how do I get them over to you? What's the best way to get involved?
Because there's lots of I's, lots of C's, there's lots of different paths. I always tell folks, just Google ICCC Sacramento.
Okay.
That'll take you directly to the website where you can learn more about the program, and you can apply or you can nominate a business. If you know a business that you think would benefit from this, send them there.
Do they need to be medical oriented
No,
like this?
no,
like
they need to be in Sacramento County.
Okay.
And what they really need to be is no startups, because there's lots of different avenues for startups. So we're looking for businesses beyond the startup concept, at least 2 years in business, roughly $500,000 in revenue or more, although we can look at exceptions. But the real key ingredient is that the entrepreneur is looking to grow that business.
Get them over the hump. A lot of times we think about all the startups trying to raise money. I always think raise money from our customers, and then a lot of times we run into that I call it the trough of sorrow, where it's just getting over the hump. And you get someone like Kaiser and the ICCI program, get you over that hump, and now you're thriving. 130 employees already. Okay, last thought here, Edward. Just like, where does your business go from here? Where are you going to take this thing? What's it look like 5-10 years down the road?
I'm going to take this baby national.
Nice. Love it. All with the help of Kaiser, some hard work, some teammates. Love it. Stick around, because Marcus and I, we're going to have someone else coming on the show. Leia Bailey, Managing Director of the California Craft Beers Association, coming up after the break. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to your entrepreneurial wake-up call. Mark Haney is living proof that nobody goes through life undefeated. His failures have defined his philosophies. His successes have defined his mantras. And through his stories, we are awakened to our own true potential. He is the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. I'm Mark Haney, and I am here with Leia Bailey. She is with the California Craft Brewers Association. How you doing, Leia?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining me. Now, I have to imagine you work with entrepreneurs all the time. Am I right?
That's right. I grew up with them. My dad was actually an entrepreneur, so it's kind of in my blood. And the craft brewing industry, they're all entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, creatives. They're this really amazing mix of a person, come from all sorts of backgrounds, and now they have their own businesses. So really creative individuals.
Well, talk to us about the association. What do you do when you bring all these beer makers together?
So we're a nonprofit trade association. Primarily what we do is protect and support the businesses, brewing businesses in California at the state capitol. So making sure there's no bills or regulatory issues that could harm their business model.
Okay.
But then really a huge part of what we do is education and consulting with our brewery members to help them navigate not only a very highly regulated alcohol industry, but also everything from business acumen to building technical skills. So a lot of our conferences and events have different tracks that focus on everything that you need to know to have a brewery, which is so much more than just running a business or just making beer. So lots of things in between.
So talk to us about the state of the craft brewing industry. Are you guys growing, shrinking? Because I know I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everybody that's listening to this knows their local neighborhood brewery, because it's 92% of everyone that live in California live within 10 miles of a brewery. We have 950 in operation across the state of California.
And how does that stack up nationally?
So there is around 5,000, almost 5,000 across the U.S.
Okay.
So we have the most breweries of any state in the nation here in California, and we've grown incredibly rapidly over the last 5 years. 5 years ago, we had about 200 breweries in the state of California.
Oh, gosh, it's exploding.
Yes, and our association has had to grow to kind of match that demand.
And so you have the whole state. You're based here out of Sacramento. Well, let's talk about our hometown. What's craft brewing look like here in Sacramento?
I love talking about Sacramento because it's my hometown, so it's really fun to talk about it. We have almost over 70 breweries in Sacramento and surrounding regions. I think if you kind of count some of the outlying counties, it's closer to that 100 mark. And we've seen just incredible growth here as well, and really great beer coming out of Sacramento. We actually have, I think, one of the largest number of breweries of any city in the state right now. San Diego has quite a bit, San Francisco, LA is growing, but Sacramento's up there in the top three, which is
one
great.
of my good buddies, Ryan Graham, Track 7 Brewing. He's a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, as am I. His business is growing like crazy too. Talk to us about the difficulties that guys like Ryan run into and other people who are building these businesses, and how you help them to overcome them.
Well, first of all, as I already mentioned, alcohol beverage industry is incredibly regulated. So everything that you say and do and how you sell and how you market, there's a rule associated with it. So it's a little bit harder sometimes to use things like social media to market your brand because of restrictions around that. So you really need to know the law in order to be successful in this business.
What kind of restrictions are there? Because I know banking and medical, they've got restrictions as well. What's the difference in craft beer?
Well, so craft beer, one of the reasons that craft beer has actually blossomed in the state of California is because of these restrictions. So we are not allowed as an industry to incentivize a beer buyer, like your local pub or grocery store, to hold our brand. So, like the chip manufacturers, they go into the grocery store and they pay for eye-level shelf space placement. Okay. And so what happens is big corporate companies with deeper pockets can really leverage that power to get that shelf space. You're not allowed to do that in craft beer. And so really at the end of the day, you're competing on quality, you're competing on branding, but you're not competing because you have more money.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of us, we build our businesses via word of mouth, right? If it's a good enough quality product, people start talking about it. Is that, are you finding that? And how do people get to know you? I didn't even know you guys existed.
I know. We're a little bit of a behind-the-scenes association. We deal every day with the craft brewers, and then they deal with the beer lovers. But, if you ask Ryan at Track 7 or any other brewer that they probably have had an email or two from me in the past.
I love it. How many members do you have?
We have, it's roughly 80% of the industry is members of our association.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is really incredible to have.
Well, what's wrong with that other 20%? Why don't they?
I don't know. Let's ask them.
Yeah, let's
bring them on the show next time.
People. Okay. So you get the benefit. Obviously, you get the political, you're advocating from a political standpoint. You're educating. But let's talk about, where do you see the industry going in the future? Is this growth going to continue?
Well, there's thousands of wineries in the state of California. So in terms of number of businesses, I think that there's still room for growth, but I think that the business models may be shifting. It's much harder to distribute outside of your hometown. And I think the beer lover is very reflective, particularly here in Sacramento. You see the farm to fork movement. People want locally made food. They want local produce. And you're seeing that reflected in the beer industry as well. You want your neighborhood brewer's beer. You want the local beer. Local is king. So it's harder to come in as a brewery from Nevada or from Wisconsin and come into Sacramento and really make a splash. So I think reflective of that, it's harder to grow outside of your hometown more than ever.
What about tasting rooms? So many of these great beer places have their own restaurants and tasting areas. Talk to us about that model.
I mean, it's a very successful model. I think we've seen so much growth there because these tasting rooms become a living room for their community. They're very open. They're very family friendly. You can go there and hang out and play a game, and you don't have that same bar feel. It's a different environment that has created, and now you're seeing bars kind of reflect that environment in different beer bar settings. But there's something really special about going into your neighborhood brewery, seeing the tanks, seeing where they manufacture the beer. Probably the person that served you the beer is on the ownership team, right? Everyone's really invested. Yeah. They live down the street from you. There's something really unique about that. I think the consumer loves that.
Yeah, I love what Track 7 is doing, but give us another success story. Think name drop a little bit. Who out there in craft beer in Sacramento is really killing it right now?
Oh, there's so many. I can't even start. I would have to remember all 70. Yeah. But there's been several that opened up. Urban Roots Brewery and Smokehouse in downtown, they just opened up. Moxa here in Roseville, they just opened up, and there was lines out the door to try their beer and to experience their culture there. And so you can see that the beer lover here in Sacramento, they love it, and there's the demand there, and it's really great to see.
I love it. Okay, just closing thoughts. If I'm a beer maker or a beer lover, how can I best? Well, actually, if I'm a beer maker, how do I get in touch with you so that I can get the help, the advocacy of the California Craft Brewers Association?
If you Google California Craft Beer, you'll find me. You'll probably find all of our contact information. But if you're here local in Sacramento and you own a brewery or you're considering getting into this industry or a facet of this industry, highly recommend coming to the California Craft Beer Summit, which is our signature event in a couple weeks here in Sacramento. Okay. We have multiple business development, marketing, selling tracks, brings in together the whole industry. So not just beer makers, but allied industries, distributors, hospitality folks, kind of everybody that touches beer. something there for everybody that's interested in building their business.
Where is that at? Where's it gonna be
Downtown
located?
Sacramento.
Okay.
It'll be at the Sacramento Convention Center September 6th and 7th. And then we throw a big party to end the event, Summit Beer Festival out on Capitol Mall, and we have 170 California breweries pouring for that.
Sounds like a heck of a party. I want to thank you, Leia, for coming on the show, sharing your story, and what you do for this industry that I love. Stick around because Marcus and I are going to share our takeaways, closing thoughts about building a personal brand. I am the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
So, yo, here we go. American dreaming.
We are back with Mark Haney, the man whose mission statement is tattooed to his soul. With future generations in mind, he will create opportunity for his family, for his friends, and for his community. He is the entrepreneur next door, and this is the Mark Haney Show.
Welcome back to the Mark Haney Show. I'm Mark Haney. I'm back here with my main man, Marcus Haney, the marine entrepreneur. We've been talking about getting known. We've been talking about building personal brands. We've heard from people in the medical industry. We've heard from people in the mortgage industry. And my favorite industry, we've heard from people in the beer industry. Marcus, takeaways, closing thoughts from today.
Yeah, hearing from Leia, that I really like what they're doing with craft beer. I think that's something exciting that Sacramento can really put their flag in the ground and take a hold of. But I also liked hearing from Tommy from Kaiser and what they're doing with local folks as a disabled veteran-owned small business. That's my customer right there. So getting to speak with him and having the opportunity to do that and connect with him was really cool.
Yeah,
for me
these
too.
large businesses like Kaiser reaching down to help the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of igniting the entrepreneurial revolution. That's our mission, is to ignite this entrepreneurial revolution right here in the hometown we love. But you know what? I had my good buddy Glenn. I don't know if he's on the line or not, but Glenn has asked me, Mark, talk to me about building your brand. What are you doing over there? You're changing the name of your show. You've got all these companies. How are you consolidating the brand message? And we're really doing it this way, Glenn, just in case you're listening right now. So we are the Mark Haney Show, and we're building the Mark Haney brand, right? That is storytelling. That is igniting this entrepreneurial revolution through inspiration, through education, and through connecting, right? That's what these stories do. When we hear the stories of these entrepreneurs and people who have been there, done that, they are so helpful in giving us confidence, not making us feel quite so alone. But the other half of our brand, really, what's happened is, I'm an investor. And as an investor, I got to help my companies to thrive, to be all that they can be, to unleash their potential. But this brand here, this Mark Haney Show piece, the radio, is getting me involved in a lot of opportunities to help more people, right? It's giving me more investment opportunity. And people are asking for this coaching. They're asking, Mark, how do I grow my business? Mark, any advice for me? And so we have the Mark Haney brand, and then we also have the HaneyBiz brand. The HaneyBiz is helping entrepreneurs to be entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs, they start off with this big dream, and then as we heard today, it's not that easy. And guys like this accelerator program at Kaiser, you know what? That really helps entrepreneurs, but they can't serve everybody, and there probably is no one answer. But you know what? I want to do everything that I can do. So that's what HaneyBiz is all about, is making it so you can wear the entrepreneurial hat. You can be out there building your businesses and leaving the QuickBooks and the accounting and the forecasting. If you're not good at that, leaving that to guys like HaneyBiz to help you out. If you're not good on social media, digital marketing, leaving that to people like HaneyBiz to help you out. And so often you need funding. And so I bring on business partners. I partner up with companies and bring the full resources of the HaneyBiz group of companies, the HaneyBiz family of companies. We bring that to help these companies grow. So it's the storytelling, Glenn, for Mark Haney. It's the helping entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs for HaneyBiz. Together, we're working on igniting the entrepreneurial revolution. We're trying to help guys like Marcus Haney build his business.
No doubt about it. So to me, just to summarize a little bit, sounds like you're the coach Haney, and then the HaneyBiz is kind of like the playbook, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I'm a little bit of a coach, but every coach surrounds himself with a great team,
staff, yeah,
and an educational platform, a game plan and plays. And me, I'm always trying to run the no-huddle offense. Let's grow some companies. That's what we're all about. And part of that is building the brand. So circling all the way back to building this personal brand, I think so many times, we touched on this earlier, it's about creating something that's a little bit different. So if I think about what I'm passionate about or my sustainable interest that I talked to Kelly about, my sustainable interest is all around entrepreneurship. But my other interest is around this hometown that I love, and combining that, isn't that just the right thing to do? And I think about you, Marcus, and you fought for our freedom, and the rest of us, we all got to do something. We all got to contribute our efforts to society. And so I bring in what I've got a little experience with, a little bit about what I love to help some other people, maybe give a little more than I take for this back nine that I'm on right now in my life. So anyway, building the brand, get a sustainable interest, and then do something a little bit different. I don't think there's anybody, Marcus, like you and me, right? I got my war hero son sitting here. I've built some businesses. I'm focused on my hometown. I know a little bit about entrepreneurship. I happen to have this team of people that are alongside me committed to this cause. I don't think there's anything like this. There's nothing like the HaneyBiz Project and the Mark Haney Show. I think we are in rare ground, and I think if you look at the event that we had here the other night, we brought all the entrepreneurs in the region together. Not all, 150 of the most successful entrepreneurs threw a great party. That's what we do over at HaneyBiz. We threw this great party in order to educate and connect up the entrepreneurs. Nobody's doing that. All entrepreneurs. There's all kinds of networking events that you can go to where you can exchange business cards. But how many times do you put yourself in a room with people who are building $100 million companies, $200 million companies, selling their companies, and have them share the real world stories of what it's like to sell a company? That's what we did the other night. Dale Carlson was over here hanging out. Other guys, Tom Candris, Tyler Smith, John DiBenedetti, selling these incredible companies, sharing these stories. That's what we do here at HaneyBiz. And I think it's becoming contagious, right? Marquee Media is putting us up on billboards. The brand is starting, Glenn. We are here. The time is now. Sacramento is the place. And the entrepreneurs, we are going to change this town from being this government cow town image, right, to being this entrepreneurial town where anything is possible. So just as we end the show today, a Sacramento salute to the leaders of hometown patriotism, to the people that are out there chasing their dream, fighting the good fight for entrepreneurship, to all those fighting for our security, our way of life, and our freedom. Marcus, to 13 stripes to the 50 stars, and to that one family name, personal brand that's always worth fighting for, yours. Never above you, never below you, always by your side.